Welcome to today's special session of Super Mario Maker 2. We usually run a viewer queue at this time, but before we do that, we're going to play through the 9 levels that were part of the Summer Games Done Quick Relay Race just a few hours ago. As you can see, I have already played these levels before, off-stream, because I did want to get a first look at them before they were displayed in front of 100,000 viewers live in the main event itself. But we'll be going through them, the whole set, mostly, I suppose, in the order in which they were presented. And we'll hopefully get a bit of a perspective on them in terms of level design that you wouldn't necessarily have picked up in the relay, and just to generally take them at a rather different pace. So we're going to begin with somebody who is very regular to this stream, MangMang69, with this level, Hot Pot Slingshot. Super good description for Queen Mangy's level, and as usual for a Mang level, a record already held by Luca. Now, when I was doing a blind read through this entire set of 9 levels, it took me about an hour and a half, which I thought was somewhat reasonable given the clear rates. Although, of course, the relay itself was conducted very quickly. It was scheduled for a little over an hour, and the runners managed to dispatch it in about 40 minutes, I think. Which tells you how well it went. You know, this is actually the first time I've done at and died to that hammer specifically. For a while when I was looking at this level ahead of time, I was wondering how many people are actually going to take damage on that hammer, and I thought, okay, it's just totally there to scare you, it's not going to do anything. And as you can see, now that I'm actually taking it live on stream, it's a rather different story. Icentrix, welcome. Whoops, so. And not only did I do that, but I ran into it twice in a row, which is, well, perhaps the first 2 times we've seen that on stream at all, because I don't believe any of the runners actually ran into it. Indeed, one of the things that was pretty striking about this particular run in the relay was that a number of the traps and surprises that are in these levels went totally unrevealed because they were just skipped over, circumvented, otherwise ignored, bypassed by people who are simply too good to see that kind of thing in action. So here we are, the letters SGDQ feature of every one of these selections today. We probably could have gone for that one up if we went left, but instead we didn't. If you really wanted to speedrun this, you would skip the checkpoint, I think. So it's kind of nice to have that with this optional placement, since anybody who is trying to go for a speedrun optimization would probably be inconvenienced by the checkpoint anyhow. A long jump over here at a bounce, and whoops. Oh yeah, this has been, I think, probably one of the biggest public showings for a Mang level that I can remember, if you think about viewership, audience numbers. As I had discussed with somebody off-stream earlier today, this was, of course, the first Mario Maker relay since the last GDQ pre-pandemic, which was SGDQ, Awesome Games Done Quick, back in January of 2020. And a lot of things in the community have changed since, in terms of new personalities coming into the fore. Some makers and streamers, for that matter, drifting off the game, and other new ones coming in. And one of the very impressive things about both the level selection and the runner selection this time was that there clearly was an effort to keep up to date with people who had emerged into much greater public prominence since the last event, one of them being Mang, who I think was much less well known back in early 2020, before 4YMM. I was already playing some of Meng's levels at that point, but I was not a streamer yet myself. I was really just getting started. And yeah, certainly a lot of the personalities involved, both Shoujo and Tanuki-den among the runners, and Bichin among the commentators were all people who had really kind of established their brands and made the Twitch partner in the time since. And it had been, I guess, 2.5 years now since that. Now, having the second skip squeak here at the bounces, quite considerate. Just bounce right over. And take these one at a time. Whoops. This is actually a fairly easy obstacle in terms of just staying on the skip squeaks long enough to survive the blaster sinking. But of course, talking at the same time makes it a rather different experience. Facing into the dash panels in the correct direction is also extremely important. But yeah, as I was saying, definitely a big public showing for Meng's level design style, which is in evidence everywhere here. Just lots of momentum mechanics. Particularly with the dash panel and spring. And usually expect a Meng level to be an extremely bouncy experience. Now let's punch everything here and proceed. Whoops. I wonder about that skip squeak on top of the checkpoint. Just there to add a touch of flavor, perhaps. Not really reachable for anybody to run into it directly. Even on your way into that checkpoint, I think. But let's bounce and go. Nope. Hang on. A little bit late there. You do have to go directly to the wall and then back to the dash panel. It's a fairly easy sequence to discern once you've encountered that element once. But of course, you really do have to commit to it. Not much room to back out of that or redo it if you're even slightly off. Anyway, let's stay aboard until the sinking occurs, and then down we go. Now you do need to back up a little bit into this shell. I did see a little bit of twirling into it as well by some of the runners today. And here we'll show you something in the finale that was not revealed at all. Also, I noticed that I think my sound is dead already, so before we show you this, we'll fix that up very quickly. This is the beginning of the stream. Now, one thing that was completely bypassed in the runs today was what happens if you long jump into this and take out the hammer. It's a cat bell. One thing we have not located, however, is whether there is a secret Meng face somewhere in this level. Oh, wait. Unfortunately, going through the pipe isn't going to get the cat bell to get up to the top of the flag, but we'll try to get up there by some other means, perhaps. No, we won't. But it would have been much fancier in theory if we had sended it properly. So the second level in this set was the one by Sauce Power, or in this case Sauce Pow. I believe I originally played these just in the upload order. But we'll just go in the event order for now. And thank you for the GG from Centrix. And Centrix, if you stick around, we'll be opening the queue at the end of the GDQ levels, if you're able to stay for that. Relay race level for Summer Games done quick. Good luck to the racers. Shout outs to chat. Rather love the use of the bumper for the letter Q in the design that we see in this level. in the thumbnail, and eventually it will be visible in the level itself. So one of the interesting things about the maker selection for this event, I said it was curated by Big Red Boy, some of whose levels we've seen in the past. He made a particularly memorable puzzle that I played once, even though he's not particularly known for puzzles, being more of a very mechanically innovative platformer designer most of the time. But among the 9 makers that were involved, including Big Red Boy himself, it was kind of a mix. We are down in terms of sound already. I really hope this doesn't proceed all day. It is kind of blinking on and off. I'll fix this very quickly while I talk. Funny, because for the past few days, we have not had this problem while playing through Cuphead, the delicious last course. But today it seems like sound is glitching out of me. Crazy. Anyway, as I was saying, Big Red Boy assembled a very interesting dream team of makers besides himself, which was kind of half people who are familiar to us from the YMM Years of Mario Maker side. So that would be like Kavik, Nabooz, Donkey Mint, and of course Mang, who we just saw. The other makers are very popular platform makers that have had some dealings with other projects like Team Shell in the past, but who are mainly known to me from other very technical platformer-minded streams like B-Chin's, B-Chin being one of the commentators for the live event. And Ig-R, welcome. Welcome to your Toadette emote as well. And yeah, so people like Sauce Power, I've not really played that many of their levels before. We're not usually active around the same times, I suppose, for them to have come in. And Ig-R, I will be opening the queue at the end of the SGDQ levels today. We're currently on number 2 out of 9. It shouldn't take long, especially because I have in fact played these off-stream before. So queue will probably open in about an hour's time or so, maybe even faster, depending on how much attention I'm paying to the levels. But yeah, so a number of these makers I don't know very well as a player, but I know as a viewer of other streams, and also just by reputation. And so, definitely a very good cross-section here. I should have stayed on the blaster. Very good cross-section of who is well-positioned to make this style of relay-friendly level in the current state of the Maker 2 community. L64, welcome. Anyway, this level is actually a fairly simple blind read, I found. The first time I saw the open rectangle, of course, not exactly knowing how heavy it was going with this indication system, I didn't know if that was just going to be an invisible block or something, but no, that's exactly where the shoe drops, and you just stay on it. And Mail64, no new level today? Yeah, I don't know if there's anything previously that you hadn't shown me, or if I've played everything at this point. But I will be opening the queue at the end of the SGDQ levels today, so if there is anything you'd like to show me, you're welcome to get the code ready. So yeah, pretty understandable that the bomb is going to have plenty of time to rest in the claw before it detonates, and then whoops, let's again pay attention to the opening. Yeah, straight into the shoe. It's okay if you get into the shoe from below, because as it falls, it'll just overlap you exactly where it is needed. And let's head over. Nope, that was a miss. The bomb is supposed to hit the key as well as activate the on-off switch. I think this was the level that's on the relay stream. We're going to get back to that sentence in just a moment. We're going to acknowledge the huge raid coming in first. Racefire coming in with 311. Welcome, everybody. Lots of people who are new to the stream today. Glad to see you all here. For those who are new here, this is regularly a Mario Maker stream. This is typically where I'm also playing viewer levels on weekends, although today we're saving the queue opening until after I've gone through the set of the 9 relay levels from SGDQ. If any of you managed to catch the relay earlier today, and if you haven't, I do highly recommend catching up on it. Many of the makers are regulars to my stream over here, and so I thought it would be kind of a treat to feature their latest and most prominent creation today. Lots and lots of follows, thank you so much. And I hope the stream from Racefire went well over there. This is the biggest raid we've received in some time, I think. And so, nice to have you all here. Let's maybe pay attention to the level at the same time. As the follow notifications come in, one by one, and punctuate this level with splooshes galore. Alright, down we go. And over. And where were we? Ah, yes, this bomb throw over here, which we're finally going to do accurately. I love this muncher timing with the on-off switch down below. And here's the letter Q that we were talking about much earlier, as well as the next checkpoint. Now, the thing I was saying before the raid came in was I believe this is the level in the relay race earlier today that Shoujo did in one shot, which, if you look at it, it is very readable blind. You do have to execute quite a few things much better than I'm doing here, but considering that it's, you know, just one motion after another, the major contact points, I suppose, are all very clearly denoted. So if you're good at following indications, if you're good at just kind of reading the lay of the land ahead of you, and if your aim is much truer than my own, it's actually one of the easier levels in the set, I think. Still very impressive to see just how efficiently the runners managed it. Love this little bit with the ice block over here, by the way, with the note block sending the shell flying. Also, of course, everybody came in just as my network started to sag a little bit. I hope the stuttering has not been too bad. And for people who are trying to add codes that are either fake or real, like I said, the queue will open up a little later on after we're through a few more of these. And yeah, it's fairly typical for me to be running at this overnight time as well. And yeah, Cole, yeah, 1, 2, 3, that's exactly what I meant. It was very impressive to watch just a straight read of this level. I think it's very well designed for that, but at the same time, you do have to be good. And with several of the runners, including Shoujo, switching to this from the Super Mario World Relay the previous day as well, that's quite a shift in gears. We're just going to bounce this guy, on-off switch is going to give me exactly what I want. And then fall into that. Very easy to miss that unless, of course, you just trust the arrows and duck as you slide across the ice. And yeah, so Bomb and Game, I'll be opening up for viewer levels in just a little bit. But we're currently on level 2 out of 9. Whoa, why did that not activate? Oh, because I was too far to the left and I wasn't within the correct half to activate the side thwomp. Serves me right for not landing dead center on a trampoline for once in my life. And up we go. Do a bit of a throw here. And Here we are, right into the bone shell for this little leap, and then we'll remember to duck this time. Now, the up pipes are always a little bit worrying. One trend that we'll see as we go through these levels is that it seems like the up pipe is practically a relay race cliche in some ways. Makes for a very good moment of tension that's very visible to the viewers immediately. Freaky Hacker, you're saying your video is still frozen. That is very bad news. I do see that I have a few frame dips over here. And yeah, if some of you are seeing some choppiness, it just started up on my stream. I think I have a little bit of interference in my network that just came up in the last few minutes. And so hopefully that will subside. I did run a couple of tests before I came online today, and we hadn't had so many problems recently. So I hope we didn't get absolutely awful footage going here. But yeah, I am seeing that my network is kind of coughing up a storm. So I'll see if I can do anything about that. Hopefully we won't need to do anything like a full reset, especially with everybody having just come in with raid. But I'm definitely getting dips. Okay. In the meantime, though, we'll try to proceed ahead, and hopefully things are not going to be as severe as they currently look. Yeah, I'm not on my usual network. That's one of the issues. I'm kind of in a bit of an atypical location myself, and my internet is not as good as it usually is. But I think it's starting to calm down, so let's take a look at the next level, which is by the creative director, or project lead, I guess, of the SGDQ sequence, Big Red Boy. This is Galumba Garbage Chutes. Summer Games Done Quick 2022 Mario Maker 2 Relay Race. But yeah, I'll continue to keep an eye on my network performance in case things choke like crazy. It just happened within the last few minutes that we had all that. Also, one of the things that you won't see on a relay race is people doing things really slowly, deliberately, so I want to show off what's in the entry pipe here. This gives you visibility of the GDQ artwork. Of course, nobody's going to bother with that in a race setting, so I thought it was important to show it off here. Whoops, let's spin jump as the auto scroll is taking off. Okay, so you dump it in. It's a seesaw activation of the on-off switch, I believe. The vertical climb segment later does reveal that in a much more visible setting, but we'll do this right away and see, whoops, if we can actually hit that accurately. I quite like how each of the drop points is visually denoted by these semi-solids. Whoops, the garbage chutes are all very clearly marked. And up we go. Alright, what do we have here this time? We're going to pop that. And proceed as before. Whoops. Maybe not miss quite so badly. We're way behind pace. But yeah, we're way behind pace. Unfortunately, the auto scroll is just going to sail right past me. So yeah, hopefully we're not going to have too many technical issues with the stream today. It seems to be off to a bit of a rough start. We have some audio glitching earlier before the raid came in as well, and so not exactly a good showing for viewership I have. Speaking of audio glitching, I think I just jinxed it because it just happened again. Just give me a moment, we'll try to fix that up. So technically speaking, we're kind of falling apart at the seams today, but we'll do it in front of everybody. Just a moment. There we go. Should be a little bit better now. Anyway, where were we? Dumping Goombas everywhere. Being old school as far as Super Mario World goes, I still think of these guys as Goombas, even if they have been retroactively renamed Galoombas ever since Super Mario 3D World, I believe. Just to distinguish their behaviors. Yeah, and it's over the thwomp and another throw into the arrow. Pretty understandable what to do there. Okay, dunk this guy. And over we go. Dunk this guy. And here we are as well. Whoops. Not really that difficult to hit that. Let's try it again. Whoops. And here we go. We'll pop this. And actually, oh, I forgot to dump it to the left, of course. Yeah, very intuitive once you get the hang of it. You just need to pay attention. All these very clearly marked arrows. The icicles restricting your space feel like they're no big deal, but whoops. And there will be one later that is kind of a surprising obstruction if you're not careful. I always have a tendency to just grab these guys instead of kicking them. But yeah, we'll just react quickly for once, and then we're going to be a little behind the auto-scroll again, so let's... Should we catch up? Very nice of this up-pipe entry to actually give me some vines. That hasn't been the case for a lot of these so far. Up we go. And missing Yoshi. Yeah, the auto-scroll picks up pretty quickly here. You don't have a lot of time to correct if you make mistakes like the ones that I've been showing off so far. We are, once again, way behind the scroll, as you can see. But we'll get caught up, and thank you for the follow. And yeah, that's going to be an up throw, and then you have to catch it again above the vine to take it across. Okay, there we are. Very nice of that to bounce so far. And yeah, always have to remember to release quickly enough to get up to the vine, of course, but the up throw dovetails very naturally into the up input for the vine grab, so really just a matter of reaction time. The inputs themselves are not particularly challenging. It's more the quickness of the read. And yeah, I can see why this is, whoops, where people had some struggles in this level in a relay earlier today. Once again, it's because at the vine segment, the kind of throw, catch, and throw does take a moment to read, and it is easy to miss one of the coins if you're not careful, because the flop push on the Goomba is a bit of a surprise the first time you see it. It happens fairly quickly. It's not something you necessarily think to notice if you haven't been paying attention to what's been going on with the elements that you've jumped on already. So But it is, I think, one of the most memorable setups in this level, so well worth it to see this steadily mastered. As you can see, we're still a little bit low on that jump. We've got the up throw, we don't quite have the jump down yet. One of the very impressive things about watching this in the context of a relay race is that they don't have the benefit, as the runners, of just kind of locking in their muscle memory with attempt after attempt, and they have to readjust to getting comfortable with the controller with every swap. It's quite impressive that they can do that. We're spending a little too long on a lower platform. The coin placement kind of baits you into doing that. We'll just try to get back up there as efficiently as we can. Pop this guy, and this guy. And you see, yeah, if you try to cut corners there, then you are much likelier to miss the coin. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. You need to be right on target to not let the platform get too low, while also managing to collect the coin along the way. Now, that was a bit of a spectacular death right there. Merlin, welcome. Merlin, don't know how long you'll be staying today, but I will be opening the queue a little later in the stream. We're currently on level 3 out of 9 of the SGDQ selection. And let's see. Pop that. And yeah, to get up here quickly and not tip over like that, there's another ready-made spectator moment for you. These little endings like that and the up-pipe entries and so on that are just built for near misses. If you're not very attentive. But yeah, like I said, these levels were quite deliberately built with the potential for quite a lot of spaghetti. And the remarkable thing, if you've seen these levels, is how few of the traps the runners ran into. There are actually quite a lot of things like that that they dodged very easily, which is kind of expected given how much experience a lot of them have with things like endless runs and, you know, just not being caught by unexpected ending surprises. And he died for me, welcome. Sorry, I couldn't welcome everybody individually, by the way, earlier with the Raise Fire Raid. That was a lot of hellos, a lot of greetings and raid messages at once. But absolutely my pleasure today to see so many new people. And let's bump this, and we'll go. But yeah, very fun setup here. A little bit of an adjustment jump, and then we'll be straight through. Now, I love this bit here, that you have the power-ups just kind of cleared by the moon right away to give you SGDQ. Those were poison mushrooms, I believe, that part of that. And of course, the checkpoint right away gets you to watch out for this. And yeah, I believe Orator dodged this first try when he saw it. But I'll show you what happens if you die, just deliberately. Because if you watched a relay, you wouldn't have gotten to see this. So it does kind of bait you into the flower right away if you restarted the checkpoint and think you can just get ahead of Bowser Jr. So, also, if you restart there, you won't have cleared everything above your head already, and so you do need to be perhaps a little more cautious than usual, but that's to clear. And thank you for the GG. So we'll continue going in the original sequence. Next one was Bone Chariot by Donkey Mint, a maker that we feature very regularly here. Ride so high on wings of bone dry. SMP2 mushroom needed. Alright, straight into the SMP2 mushroom. And let's go for a ride. So here you kind of need to understand right away that the pickup is going to be necessary right off the start. Nice thing about the bones is that, of course, you can just use them to protect your head. And you do need them here to knock anything on the ceiling out of the way, so... Definitely a very interesting use of the piranha clinging onto that block there in a context that you ordinarily wouldn't see. Notice that the first dry bones as well has wings on it. It pops out, it gets into position, gives you a moment to react before it starts to sink. Yeah, Merlin, as always, you're welcome to stay as long as you'd like. And we'll hopefully be able to run a decently long stream today. I had to cut off a little early yesterday when I was running Cuphead. Although we did finish all of the bosses in the delicious last course, there was some post-game content that I hadn't quite cleared yet, so we might be going back to that later in the week. Even though the main bulk of the new content is out of the way, at least on normal mode. I don't know if I'll be doing expert on stream necessarily, simply because even in the original set of Cuphead bosses, I've only cleared a few S ranks with many, many expert fights left to do. But yeah, considering that it was only a set of, I think, 7 bosses, plus the chess challenges and such, the Cuphead delicious last course felt like a very considerable sum of content. But nice to get back to Mario Maker after that diversion. One thing we notice quite often about document levels is the attention to things like the use of these mushroom stalks here to just kind of highlight all of the relevant columns that you're dealing with. Oh, whoops. Let's move the mole this way. Yeah, the mole bouncing towards the wrong direction if you're standing in the wrong half is also something I think was not really shown off, but is certainly a trap that you can run into if you're not careful. Whoops, a little bit slow on that slide across the ice. We didn't build enough momentum to do that properly. That's okay, we'll go fast. We'll pick that up right away without sliding off into the spike. Eventually. Nope, missed the pickup until it was much too late under the one-way panels. I actually kind of wonder about those one-way panels. They seem to be placed there precisely to be that kind of trap, but I wonder what else they're managing to do there. These ones pointing down because... Oh, I guess because the bones have wings, they trap them before they get into a position that would allow them to rise up. Perhaps. Given what we know of some of the earlier setups where the winged bones get into place after that kind of interaction, that's the first explanation that comes to mind. You do need to land on the bones directly here before you get on the platform, otherwise, because it's placed right to the left towards that wall, you don't get a chance to do the pickup properly. And up we go. Yeah, pick it up. Now, this is something that caught a lot of people, and caught me as well when I was seeing this level off-stream ahead of time, that it's very tempting to just jump on the trampoline right away before you do the first throw, and if you do that, then the sequence doesn't quite give you enough height, because by that point the blue platform, whoops, is already too far off the track. Also, yeah, as you can see, can't really recover your position if you hit the platform first. But anyway, let's get up here. Pop this guy, and back here properly. Yeah, so this jump right here. And this up pipe entry is going to go successfully. But yeah, very easy to flub that throw the first time you see it, and I think people did see that happen accordingly. Now, this is something I hadn't seen previously, was that the bottom part here, if you miss, is a trap that just gives you an instant reset back to the checkpoint without dying. Very considerate little touch here. But yeah, there are all these little hidden safety nets and considerations this way to make the experience as smooth as possible. And here we go. Here's the boom boom count. Here we go. And yeah, at this point we kind of know that up arrow is something to be taken seriously. Now, I'm going to deliberately show you this bit here, because this was not shown off on the stream either, that if you miss the pipe entry after the SGDQ text, despite the very prominent left arrow telling you to go left, it's not actually anything deadly, unless you lose the power up again somehow. It's just something to delay you a little bit. So if it were a really close race and somebody missed a pipe on the left, they would have ended up here and had to take a little bit of extra time to do this sequence before making it to the exit. So, neat little trap there that was unfortunately not shown off. I don't think I can develop enough height even with the SMP2 jump to get over the flag, unfortunately, so we will just have to be content with hitting the top. And as you can see, this is spectacularly embellished castle at the end as well. And yes, Clarkness, we are running the GDQ levels in sequence. We've done 4 out of 9 at the moment. I had previously looked at these off stream because I didn't want to save them until after I had already watched the broadcast. I did want to see the levels myself first, because several of these makers are people I have playtested for in the past, and also I've had show up on my stream, so I definitely wanted the player experience and go into the broadcast sort of expecting certain things to happen or not happen. The race was fantastic. I do highly recommend going back to watch it. They cleared it really quickly and way ahead of schedule. They had booked an hour 15 for the Maker 2 relay slot. They were done with it in 40 minutes. It went very, very well for the runners. It went very well for the level makers as well, even though a lot of their traps and ending trolls were not really displayed in public. So let's take a look at this level by Ray 67, Spinny Spiny Dispensary. This was number 5. Good luck racers, SGDQ 2022 hype. And up we go. And, yes, so here we just needed to not aim past a shell. Yeah, notice how the skip squeak that is placed under the pipe works as enough of an offset that once you have enough crowding from the spinies, they fall off the pipe. It's a very unique little setup that kind of gets them to automatically fall from the dispenser. Also, very tempting to go for a wall jump here on the pipe and go back that way. I think somebody on the relay stream actually did try that. It doesn't quite work because when you do it in that location, I'll go back to that location and show you. the thwomp actually comes down a little too quickly. Electrodude, you think the sound is pitched weirdly. We'll fix that again. We've had to do a lot of audio resets already today, and my network was also falling apart earlier when we were getting a raid. Bombing Game, I'll answer your question about GDQ in just a moment. But yeah, after days of no serious audio issues, when I was playing Cuphead, we're back to things glitching out every few seconds. Unfortunately. Bombing Game, GDQ is Games Done Quick. In this case, SGDQ is Summer Games Done Quick, which is an in-person speedrun festival that is also one of the biggest streaming charity events. So for GDQ, there was a set of specially made levels, 9 of them, that was showcased earlier today in a relay race format. Who destroyed the Odyssey? It was me. I admit it was me. Whoops. Anyway, I should really not be missing the last jump before the green pipe at the very end. And yeah, do tell me if you detect anything wrong with the audio, because if it's off-pitch, it's usually the first sign that is also going to cut out or glitch out fairly soon. Really nicely timed setup here with the thwomp dropping the donut block, which then gives you the long jump opportunity immediately afterwards. Bombing Game, why did I destroy the Odyssey? Because it shot first. That's my excuse. So one of the things you have to watch out for visually when dealing with these spiny dispenser sequences is that if you jump on top of a spiny and stop it in position, there is a risk that you get a little bit visually confused with when the next one comes sailing past it and knocking it out. You'll probably see it quite a bit while I play it. The GDQ runners, of course, were much too good to see this very much, but there can be a bit of a momentary confusion when you see one spiny knocking out another. Snake block has a little time pressure there, and up we go through the pipe. Bombing Game, is that always my excuse? Some of the time, I guess. Whoops. Here we just eradicate the skip squeak and then get on another spiny in sequence back to the left. And then, oh, timing was a little bit off here as well. Notice the conveyor belt that's going to come up, which is going to direct the next spiny drop. And yeah, you would think that this kind of auto spiny dispenser would be used more often, especially because it's very cheap to make entity-wise. Love the exclamation block drop on the piranha plant here, incidentally. Now here, this section here is a little bit of a risk, as you can see, with exactly what I was describing earlier, with the spinies colliding and potentially throwing you off positionally. Whoops. There we go. All right, let's try this again. There we go. Yeah, as soon as you see clear pipes here, it's very easy to understand what you're supposed to do. You just need to aim well, and as you can see, up pipe entries are everybody's bane, and they're in practically every single one of these levels, specifically to catch you out if you're not paying attention. Or if your aim is just a little bit off. Whoops. But as levels that were meant to be not only very blind-friendly experiences for the players, but also a spectator experience that would be full of suspense even for people who don't know Mario Maker very well. It's not hard to understand why the up pipes are so extremely popular in this set. I think almost everybody did it. Big Red Boy as the project coordinator at least had the courtesy to add some vines, but of course that was not in the 3D World style. Mama Game, a streamer you watch is about to have a child. I feel like I've had that experience with some other streamers several times over. I hope they've planned accordingly in terms of how their stream times are going to be affected in the near future, whether they need to take a parenthood hiatus or anything. As far as prominent Mario Maker streamers go, I believe that was the case with Dragon Feeney last year. Who just had a couple of months of depending mainly on reruns before she was really fully back in action. But had, of course, a very well-established and stable community that was very understanding. Merlin, you somehow enjoy the challenge of up pipes. Well, it's satisfying when you can actually do it successfully. But it's one of those things where I think everybody expects it to feel like it's easy because it's not any kind of knowledge check or input check, it's just purely positioning, right? And it's something that, you know, even relatively inexperienced players should be able to do pretty cleanly. And so I think the thing about up pipes is that people consistently underestimate them, even with the reputation that they have for being very notable death zones. Still can't get enough of that exclamation block piranha drop. It's just a very fancy little thing here. And of course we need to do this up pipe sequence properly. Whoops. Okay, across we go. And up. And back down, and this time we'll do it. Just need to not get too close to the wall because you can't actually save yourself with a wall jump there. Now you can kind of skip ahead forward, but if you go one shell at a time before things start to space out like that, they do give you a little bit of room to just inch forward a little bit. Fortunately, I stalled there just a little too long for my own good. But yeah, it is possible to optimize this bit here as well if you wanted to rush through it. I don't know what this well enough to do it very cleanly, but well, of course, wait for a few shells to spawn first before you do that. I don't know why they spaced out as much as they did in the later rounds. It might have been just the shell collisions that were happening. But I don't think so, because they swiped through the discarded shells pretty cleanly, so... Oh no, it's because I was out of range of the first pipe. If I scroll off camera from the first pipe, things start spacing out. So it adds a little bit of time pressure here in that once you have gone far enough to the right that the left pipe is no longer able to act as a spawner, then you really do need to get in position quickly before you just run out of shells. Anyway, here's a little P-switch consistency check. And there you go. And yeah, if you just kind of stay indefinitely on that bounce past a red pipe, I think you can kind of see yourself inching forward as well with the spawn timing of the spinies. You can't just remain in one spot indefinitely with a full jump. If you are at a full jump, you do shift forward slightly, just enough to get over to the flag when the P-switch expires. And thank you for the GGs. Let's take a look at the next one in the set. The next one is going to be by Another old friend of the stream, Naboo's, called Faster Than Blasters. Now, this level was kind of vaguely familiar to me when I played it, and I realized why. It was actually because this was originally a discarded prototype for one of the earlier YMM Years of Mario Maker projects. And Naboo's kind of changed it, refined it, and eventually developed it into this GDQ level instead. But it had actually not occurred to me that the previous version of this concept was something that had previously not been released. But in its final form, it has turned out very well, I think. So this, oddly enough, reminds me of a level in Yoshi's Woolly World, I believe, which is all about these kind of curtain climbs as well. I'm just letting the blaster push me. I'm not doing much with it. Otherwise, occasionally you get in position for a very clear spin jump that needs no indication whatsoever because it's just that obvious. And just gonna get up here. And drop quickly enough to get over. Maybe tried to cut too many corners with that jump right there. But yeah, there's a particular level in Yoshi's Woolly World where you just cling on to this curtain the whole time, and there are a couple of camera change effects that make it look very three-dimensional, but it is fundamentally still mechanically identical to a side-scroller. And that was just what I was thinking of when I was in the midst of playing this. The coins give you a pretty clear indication of drop angle. And Electrodude, your 7 MMC is somewhat similar to this, yeah. Looking forward to that. I still don't know if I'll be able to get a level done for that myself. I just haven't had time to do making. Notice what I said earlier about these spin jumps being extremely obvious and self-evident. Maybe that's only true if you are paying attention. So, I stand by that remark, though. These need no indication. Okay, let's go up. And through. Yeah, one thing I didn't really, talk about in the previous segment leading up to checkpoint 1, because we blasted through it so quickly, was that the end there as well requires you to be pretty attentive to the fact that the vines are not going to grow in time for you to just cross them without a jump. So a jump across was pretty necessary. If you can think back that far to the blue spike tops that were at the end of the previous section. Wait, let's get over here. Kind of pulling back a little bit too much on that spin jump right there. But we'll try to make something of it. And yeah, the spacing here is generally quite good. Notice too the way that each of these vine segments are shortened at the ends. It gives them a bit more of a natural look. Notice the SGDQ text as well, but it also prepares you for this segment over here. Because here is a survival boss. It's very obvious from the P-switch doors right away that it is going to be some kind of time survival, given that the Koopalings are going to be completely inaccessible. But it does potentially throw you off if you are off-center as you cross the middle, because of the way that you can be pushed off of the vine if you're not careful, if you're just kind of over the lip of the central section. And yeah, Merlin, last time I played Super Mario World, that really caught me out as well. A lot of mechanical differences with Mario Maker definitely caught me off guard, but I remember that was one of them, that you couldn't spin jump off the vines. In Maker 1, rather. Not in Super Mario World. In Maker 1, when we were streaming it earlier this year, I died to that a couple times. I had completely forgotten about that until I encountered it too. Whoop. Anyway, if you just remain reasonably centered and you understand that you kind of have to lead the projectiles from the Koopalings, this isn't too difficult. And of course a nice little ending scare there. Because that's what levels like this are all about. I can't get over to this side, unfortunately. I don't think you necessarily can. You need a little more momentum going forward as you climb vines. It looks like you're maybe just barely able to clear the goal, but I have not been able to demonstrate that. Next one in the set is going to be number 7 by Kavik. Speedy Glide Desert Quest. Kavik's first level in quite some time, since 6YMM last year, in fact. So, glad to have him back for this. Now, the thing about Kavik is that I remember that the first level that he uploaded when patch 3.0 dropped back in April 2020 was a squirrel level, and he was one of the makers who was maybe most influential in popularizing the whole squirrel plus conveyor belt thing, where you used the conveyor belts for wall climbs. That has become such a standard squirrel cliche almost. Now here, so far, it starts out pretty normal. You take advantage of the fact that bouncing on top of enemies resets your ability to boost with a squirrel. Now I have a little story about this segment because I had played this level previously, as I said. And if you know Kavik, you know how he feels about SD locks, self-destruct locks, where you are in a position like this, where it seems like you're not forced to die, but at the same time it doesn't seem like you can continue because you can't get a flight power-up. And I thought, looks like we've caught Kavik at last on something really obviously an SD lock. And then, of course, he does think of everything. You go back here, watch this propeller hat. It expires exactly within range for you to pick it up and continue, which is a very nice touch. Notice how this is kind of built this way, where it's right at the lip of this column, and this is still built to be symmetrical, so it's kind of very well disguised that you're exactly within range of not being locked. But it's a kind of a subtle touch, as well as an anti-SD lock touch that Kavik is very well known for. Anyway, up here we go, and now we're going to see the signature mechanic of this level, which is the fact that the squirrel can add to seesaw weight. Now, you're supposed to follow the blaster down and go right over here. The first time I saw this blindly, I totally did the second cycle over the dry bones, and I think a lot of the runners did as well. I was interested to see that both of the teams that were running this level in the relay did the same thing as I did, where they assumed that the second circuit would get them something. But no, you do need the wall cling here in order to preserve the boost going up in this section. Now, what I'm not clear about is whether you're actually able to fly low into the bottom right to speed your way to the pipe, because if you fly all the way down there, glide down to the bottom right, and then boost up to the wall and then wall jump up, I think theoretically it looks like you can shortcut this entire section here. I'm not sure about that, and we'd have to ask, I think, Luca previously had a record on this, but I think it has since been beaten. Because Luca had a record on this that was about 50-something seconds and was not at all optimized. Somebody has since got it down to 40 seconds. And I think this has to be one of the things that you do to do a skip. And yeah, Kavik really enjoys the intentional skips. I don't think there was any expectation that they would necessarily show up in a relay, but they're kind of there for replayability and record hunting for everybody else. Here's the signature mechanic again, that the squirrel cling adds a seesaw weight to the blaster, which is a really neat little discovery. Whoops. And one that I don't think I had seen used in one of these squirrel platforming levels before, although I haven't really been keeping up with the squirrel meta as far as what people have been doing with attack. I don't think anybody had shown it to me up to this point, though. It seems like it would be something that I must have seen in a puzzle or something by now, but when are you going to see the acorn suit in a puzzle, right? It's not something that you'll see pop up very frequently. Whoops. Oh, the wind, unfortunately, negated the climb. And yeah, Electrodude, it looks like there are definitely a ton of alternate pathways, especially with the wind direction here being constant, and with these multiple areas that you can descend. One of the ones that I noticed was that with the first blaster drop that you see over here, it falls on a dry bones. And so, well, we're not going to do it this way, but it falls on a dry bones, so that kind of tells me that if you're able to land cleanly on top of this guy before the blaster comes down, you should be able to boost to the left instead. And Electrodude, you said you can actually glide under from the other side. Yeah, so you're talking about the first section, right? The point that I was saying with the beginning. Yeah, unfortunately I couldn't quite get over, but I'm just sort of mapping this out, where potentially if you hit the dry bones before it gets crushed by the blaster, you could maybe skip to the left side right away. I think to do that, you would need to ground pound cancel fast enough to get past the blaster once you've used it as an alignment tool, because you would otherwise be blown by the desert wind against the saw blades in that gap. Also, one thing that I know Kavik was very proud of in this level, which I think deserves a mention, is the fact that he did not use any spike blocks whatsoever. All of the spatial restrictions are done using, whoops, munchers and grinder blades. Even though that was, of course, very costly for the entity budget to be using all those munchers at once. Which I think is also why he has the columns for the descent later guarded by pokies. Like, you just don't have much of a budget left for other forms of space restriction at that point. Okay, let's slide a little bit so we can land accurately. Fight the wind. And do the next landing over here. Now here's a bit of a flight test as you push against the wind. Now the neat thing is that both pathways are available. And something very neat about the way that the GDQ relay turned out. Whoops. I think you're able to do that anyway. You'd have to kind of fight the wind with the wall jump sequence on that side. But one of the neat things about the way the GDQ relay turned out was that one team went left, one team went right. And you revealed both pathways onto stream at once, even though only the left side was successful. Only the left side in the final column, rather, which would be the right side in the Poki descent. Oh, I forgot to do this once again. Oh, we almost made it through, but unfortunately not. Oh, speaking of things that happened on the stream, which were pretty interesting that I forgot to mention earlier when we were playing Nabuza's level with the Vine Climb boss. So, with the Vine Climb boss in that level, on the stream you can see that both teams arrived on that screen at the same time. So, the blasters that were going back and forth, left and right on the boss fight with the curtain were synchronized between both streams, and synchronized in such a way that it looked like the blasters were kind of passing from one screen to the other. It was a very mesmerizing effect. And, whoops, yeah, once again, not paying attention. And I'm not a precision player, so we're not going to survive that. Let's remember to cling onto the blaster. But yeah, I should perhaps go back and clip that to show people what I mean, because it was actually a very interesting moment. Whoops. Yeah, a little bit too low to get the blaster cling, unfortunately. I shouldn't be sliding down that far. I'm always a little wary of going a little too high when aiming for the blaster climb, and that's not really something I should be worried about. Did Kavik plan for you to be able to go through the gap in the saws? Yeah. Because you can still land on dry bones down below, at the bottom, and you're just fine. It's pretty typical of a Kavik level to accommodate stuff like that, even though he is not himself a precision player. Yeah, so the one-way panels guard this blaster completely. You don't need to worry about running into the Muncher and dry bone stack. It's just that the Muncher looks kind of visually threatening, so it's very easy to back off from that, but the one-way panels do protect you completely. Anyway, down we go. Yeah, we'll go right for the cling. I have to plan for the desert wind, of course, which sometimes I don't do. One of the reasons why I'm missing very easy and reasonable landings from time to time is that I just don't compensate for the desert wind enough. I think that will make certain jumps when I'm actually going to be pushed. There we go. But yeah, you can totally skip and go left. I'm just not slick enough to show that off. Anyway, here's the descent. I'm going to go left again just to see if I can show it off properly, because we didn't manage to do it before. Yeah, you kind of need to twirl a little bit to do that. So it's not actually much of an advantage. The speed advantage would come from doing the inside path, in fact, because you would just come up here directly without any additional fuss, because the wall jump sequence is not as fast as it looks. Here's one other thing you would not have seen on the GDQ stream, is what you do if you go up top the slow way. Go up here, you get one last blaster drop made available to you as a bit of a secret. And it dunks you on top of the flag, so it's a way to hit the top of the flagpole, but you can also choose to deliberately miss it, like I did here, and check what's on this side. And the answer is absolutely nothing. Can we get onto top of the flagpole? Probably not. Nope.
Oh yeah, Mario time!
But if you really desperately want that one up, that's how you would get it. Thank you for the GG. 2 more to go. And welcome, Ziggsy. So the next one is by Casper. It's called Chain Chomp Chateau. Let's see if we can find it. Here we go. Good luck, racers. So, spin jump off the P right away, and then up we go. Have to actually monitor the positioning on the chomps, of course. So, a lot of things in this level are coordinated by P-switch timing. P-switch affects practically every setup here, and locks you out if you go a little too slowly. Anyway, it will try to keep on pace here as we see past this segment. And here we go. And yeah, you just need to switch accurately between the standard jumps and the spin jumps. Notice that red pipe that's kind of obstructing the checkpoint. I think visually you can be tricked out by that if you just see the checkpoint flag and decide to ram yourself towards it, but no. Instead we're going to see the up arrow and read it accurately. The fact that the Buzzy walked off already, should I be concerned about that? No, I shouldn't, because you're just starting from checkpoint and you get to start at your own leisure here. I think so anyway. Let's take a look at that big Buzzy again and see what it's doing. I think it's just part of an initial... Ah, no, you do need it, because it's the thing that you kick. So you can't just sit around and let it wake up. If you do, you're effectively SD locked, especially because I don't think you can... Oh yes, you can. You can just reset the pipe. So you're not locked, you can just reset, because the blasters spawn in a position that hugs the pipe entrance. You do need to hit the shell quickly enough to bounce it, though. And that's a neat little trick there, where the destruction of that block with the big shell drops the chomp that you are supposed to land on. Definitely a fun moment. And then here you are supposed to switch back to a standard jump for the P. I kind of spotted that a little late when my brain was still going spin jump. That's precisely how it is meant to trick you. Have a standard jump out of the P. Will do the trick just fine. You think resetting seems to break the shell? Oh yes, because of the way it spawns from a destroyed block, doesn't it? Yes, because the shell breaks immediately, which is why we didn't have it available earlier. So that totally is a lock then. Yeah, as I was saying earlier, this has been an interesting series of makers to put together in that it seems like they're kind of half and half between the YMM people and the ones that are active with Team Shell or are known to Big Red Boy and the communities that are kind of part of that network with a lot of the Shell and Jamp levels. And you can kind of see some stylistic differences there in terms of where their priorities lie. Generally, in a relay level like this, you're not really going to be too concerned about SD locks that are very obviously going to be deaths, because you would expect that the racers are very impatiently going to reset rather than explore things anyway. So, obviously, in the context of my stream, we're going to be discovering a lot of things just by poking around a lot more. Whoops. And yeah, so a reset totally does break it then. But we'll go over here, onto the thwomp. And you do need a little bit of a medium bounce or perhaps a secondary bounce on the chomps, or perhaps stay longer on the thwomps. So there are segments here where you do need to wait a little bit for some additional syncing before the chomps are in the proper position. Although a full jump on top of the thwomp does tend to line up pretty well in terms of waiting just long enough for the chomp sequence afterwards to lower itself. Nice full jump here. I think a second bounce might be advisable on the chomps. The thwomp is still kind of available at that point though, so we could potentially just stay on it. We'll see. I feel like my instinct with these levels is to just go fast, and as you can see now, that's going to be a little bit too slow if you stay on. So you just need good medium bounces, I think, and that's all that segment is testing. And up we go. That's still going to be a little too high. Maybe a secondary bounce on the first chomp would also help if it looks like we're getting there a little too quickly, as a low bounce wouldn't put you too far behind. and we could occasionally follow my own advice about this sort of thing. I mean, a short bounce looks like it's supposed to give you the right height, but you need really good full forward momentum to play that accurately. And actually, yeah, just going straight forward there is the answer. A little bit of time pressure here from P-switch, of course. And through we go. P-switch does eliminate that safe block earlier. Poor Boom Boom trapped into G. Here's another checkpoint. This is the one that we saw earlier from the other side. Then, let's dunk this. So yeah, understanding that the Z marker is telling you to remain in the same location is something that you do kind of need to read very quickly. Obviously, a spin jump normally over the P isn't going to get you above either of those columns on the left or the right, so you kind of need to understand that it is going to give you a bounce. If you look very carefully, you can see the chomp coming. But this is definitely a case of a marker that you sort of take on trust. Thank you for the follow. Okay. Let's tap this. And totally fail to jump once again as we try to get over to the blaster in time before it sinks too low. I actually don't quite remember how well the runners were reading this segment over here. Actually, I imagine that it's something that they picked up very quickly. I did watch it, I just wasn't paying attention to how they were doing on this setup specifically. You do need to be very quick about the bomb because otherwise it does come down too close to the chomp and it will destroy the chomp. Spin jump, of course. Actually, not even that. I think you might be able to just do a standard jump over the boo if you want to get across quickly, but we can try that out with time, although the blue platform is going to take you quite low, so maybe not. Nope, you do need to get off the blue platform because it also sinks. There's going to be a spin on top of the chomp, you ride it over, and then over to the on-off switch before the P-switch expires. Whoop. That was nearly a problem there, that high bounce I got off the chomp, and that was the wrong kind of jump. And up we go. And bumping that with my head instead of throwing it is, I suppose, the fancy way to do it. Whoops, taking a little too long for the P-switch expiry, though. I just kind of missed the jump button at the very end. So, certainly can't dawdle too long here. Up we go, and forward. Medium bounces here, of course. Pretty understandable as long as you have some self-control when it comes to your button timing. We'll tap that. Get over. And then a big mecha coming our way, which is, like big bombs, usually indicative of a directional kick that's going to become important. Yeah, I really like the timing windows on the P-switches here, actually, in terms of everything being measured, just to create the right amount of tension without feeling necessarily all that tight. You just need to be attentive. And your aim needs to be a lot better than mine. Alright, up we go. Yeah, kick it over. That's exactly how it does work. Oh! Actually went over the axe. Looks like it's chops all around down there. So if I spin jump from this side, I don't think I can go over the axe necessarily, but if I do, I theoretically could have hit the 30 coin perhaps, unless there were more blocks in the way, but yeah, a spin jump by itself I don't think is going to get me over the axe, so that was not something we could have shown. But as you can see, the 30 coin back there is just going to let you pig out for a bit. We have one more level, and then we'll be opening the viewer queue after that. The last one in the GDQ set is going to be Trakken's Hyrule Hero Hour. You can probably guess from the title which character we'll be dealing with this time. When Mario falls short, he calls upon his overpowered friend, GLHF. Anyway, diagonal shots are kind of a bane of mine, but we'll not run into too much trouble here. Now, I believe you actually do need the claw to gain enough height to get over here. You can't just jump on a spring and expect to go over. I believe it falls just a little bit too short, but don't take my word for it. You can try it out yourself if you're not sure. This looks like a ground pound for sure. Whoop, shield, and then over. And there is a link check directly after this pipe, I think. Yes, there is. So, you can't just take your time before this and muscle your way through the thwomp. You do, in fact, need to get here efficiently. Now, the fact that you drop on the right side blaster potentially tricks you out because, whoops. If you stay on the right side, I'll actually show you this. If my network will calm down a bit because we seem to have a huge lag spike again. Hopefully it's not stuttering too much, but it seems like we just had another rough patch. Anyway. Yeah, if you just hit the on-off switch and stand on this side and you shield, this is what happens. I believe it actually did happen to somebody on stream. You just get pushed directly off because there is a little bit of a push from shielding the Mecha Beam. That is a potential pitfall. So, as you shield, you actually do kind of need to adjust your position a little bit. Jump up, and then you continue from there. Whoops. So here, you need to get through the first gate before the bomb detonation. The bomb detonation then opens up the second half of the gate. Pretty understandable. It does require that you don't launch the bomb over there too early before you're able to complete that sequence of jumps over to Goombas. Also, releasing my shield a little too early against the mecha on the left appears to be a bit of an issue. Do I play Mario Kart Tour? No, I don't. I have, however, played the Mario Kart Tour based levels that were in the latest Mario Kart 8 level pack. Speaking of which, I think we're supposed to get the next set of Mario Kart 8 levels, including levels that are ported from Tour, fairly soon, because it seemed like with the original schedule they had promised that we're expecting to get Mario Kart courses every 4 months or so. The last set was in March. That would kind of lead one to suspect that more Mario Kart content should be coming our way pretty shortly. Nice for that on-off corner to be, whoops, very readily available for targeting when it comes to firing arrows. Because once again, diagonal shots are for whatever reason not my forte. So yeah, bombing game, unfortunately I don't know much about Mario Kart Tour. I tried it briefly, but I'm not somebody who really plays in mobile at all. And from the few minutes of experience I had with it, I mean, I think I'd rather just play Mario Kart, so... Oh, whoops. Now, the shell actually remains safe for quite some time. This is a very interesting setup in that the shell that the thwomp projects is also the one that you use as a platform to hit. I'll show you that again in just a moment, since we failed at it the first time. Because it's a very neat little setup here. Yeah, so you lower the thwomp, you get above the buzzy shell, and then the same buzzy shell is the one that gets projected when the thwomp goes back up after having hit that platform. It's a very neat little sequence of events that's done on a very low budget. If you look at this, it's just the three pieces, the buzzy shell, the thwomp, and the sideways trampoline, and you get a ton of jumps out of that. Definitely a very unique moment as we pass the SGDQ text and get into the boss fight. Notice that you don't actually need to have the sword intact going into the boss fight. If you took damage at the very end of the previous sequence, you can still survive. This is really just an arrow check. Occasionally you'll have some Bowser RNG obstructing you down low, but for the most part, if you just shield, you're fine. I think if it were a... whoops. Very close race that we're down to the wire, that maybe the method used to get through this fight would matter a lot more, but if you just are content with doing it a slow way, it's fairly simple. You don't even need to move around very much, as long as you're careful. And a bombing game, yeah, you have a good night. Thank you so much for coming by. Okay, third hit will do it. It's actually a relatively quick fight if your targeting is on point. There we go. And that's it. That's the GG. Nothing else to see here, I don't think. But we can always check this. This is just a castle artwork, it's not a platform, so... that's it. So even after having looked at these levels before, it took me about twice as long to run through them as the runners did to get through it blind while swapping controllers, which kind of tells you how this went, but I'm very happy to take a look at all of these makers. Some of them I played almost completely in the past, some of them I've hardly played at all, even though I was kind of familiar with them by reputation. Really definitely a good mix of selections here from the 9 contributing makers that we saw. And if you did not catch the GDQ relay, definitely look out for the VOD when it shows up, or just go back to their Twitch channel and scroll back accordingly, because it was well worth it.